Welcome to the Criminal Imagination. This series is not a tale of logic and reason. It is a descent into shadows, secrets, and the crimes that refuse to die. We will uncover the forgotten roots of crime fiction, haunted mansions, and unreliable confessions, spectral witnesses, and guilty minds fractured by mirrors and blood. And through this, we will explore how fear, guilt, madness, and supernatural shaped the genre we believed we understood. This is the archive of the repressed. Welcome to Gothic Evidence, Dark Inheritance, a world where justice limps behind secrets, where madness wears a velvet coat, and the blood on the floor tells stories older than law or even time. You will find no tidy resolutions here, no Holmesian deductions under gaslit certainty. Instead, we turn the handle of a drawing room door and step not into civility, but into something deeper, something far more disturbing. What you see, dear viewer, may be a velvet sofa, a bone china teacup, or a gloved hostess. But listen closely. There is blood beneath the floorboards. There is a will in the study, and someone just beyond the door is smiling with poison under their tongue. In today's episode, the Velvet Noose, Inheritance, Illusion, and the Drawing Room Crime, we study wealth, domestic deception, and the dangerous myth of the genteel home. In the golden light of empire and opulence, the drawing room was meant to be a place of leisure, a shrine to the Victorian virtue and post-war comfort. But in Gothic crime fiction, it becomes a chamber of rot. Here, secrets are not spoken, they are staged. In this genre, crime does not come from the gutter. It is born in satin cradles, dressed in silk, and taught to smile while others drink the hemlock. Let us begin not in the dark alley, but among chandeliers. We begin with Mary Elizabeth Braddon, the so-called queen of the sensation novel, a label that itself is a little crime of literary snobbery. In her work, The Doctor's Wife, Braddon offers not a detective tale in the strictest sense, but something far more insidious, the anatomy of domestic deception, where fiction itself becomes a form of entrapment. The novel tells the story of Isabel Gilbert, a young woman obsessed with romantic novels. She marries a country doctor, a dull but reliable man, and soon finds herself bored and emotionally starved. What follows is not a tale of knives and pistols, but of imaginative crime, where love becomes a fatal fantasy. Braddon wrote, "She had woven her own shroud of dreams, thread by thread, fancy by fancy, till she lay wrapped in its folds and could not breathe." Here, crime is committed not with weapons, but with narrative. Isabel's longing for Gothic plots and Byronic heroes becomes the very instrument of her entrapment. In this sense, Braddon indicts not only the domestic ideal, but literature itself. What stories do we tell women, and how do those stories kill them? There is no inheritance in The Doctor's Wife, not of money, but of madness, of social roles passed down like haunted heirlooms. Braddon's drawing room is a prison, and its velvet chairs are lined with silk restraints. And then we talk about A. Milne, the creator of Winnie the Pooh. Imagine, he also gave us a murder mystery. And not just any mystery, but a quintessential country house crime called the Red House Mystery. Under the charm of Milne's breezy tone and amateur detective antics lies something darker. A brother is shot dead in the study. The will is altered, and everyone is a little too polite. The setting is picturesque: tennis lawns, breakfast tables, summer hats. But the crime is not about murder alone. It is about ownership. Who gets to inherit? Who writes the story of a family? Milne wrote, he had that unerring instinct for the significant detail and that complete lack of imagination which makes men so sure of themselves. This is the key. In the Red House Mystery, the greatest danger is not violence, but the illusion of rationality. The detective, Anthony Gillingham, solves the case with leisure and logic, but never once questions the broader rot that a man is dead because of money, that the bonds of family dissolve in the acid of inheritance. In this way, Milne's drawing room becomes a false Eden, a place where wit replaces mourning and property is more sacred than kin. The house itself is red not just in name but in metaphor. The walls are saturated with unspoken rivalries. The study door closes, the gunshot rings, and the silence reclaims its throne. And now let us cross the channel to France, to the baroque chambers of Théophile Gautier, whose tale La Morte amoureuse, the dead woman in love, drapes the drawing room in velvet shadow and Gothic superstition. This is no traditional crime novel, but remember, we are not seeking tradition. We are charting the archive of the repressed. Those crimes of spirit, body, and inheritance that masquerade as love. In this short story, a young priest named Romuald is seduced by Clarimont, a mysterious courtesan who may or may not be undead. The tale shimmers with decadent horror, a fever dream of desire, guilt, and vampirism. Romuald cries. Dead though she was, she smiled. I felt her cold lips upon mine, and from that moment I was lost. What is the crime here? It is not murder exactly, it is possession. Clarimont becomes the Gothic femme fatale, an object of passion that consumes. But she is also the repressed subject, a woman with agency even in death. She chooses, she haunts, she takes. In the language of the Gothic, this is what inheritance means. Not just estates and money, but bodies, roles, desires. Romuald inherits priesthood. He is meant to be celibate, composed, rational. But the repressed always returns. In Clarimont, Gautier gives us not a woman, but a Gothic spectre, beautiful, rotting, unforgettable. Her boudoir becomes the site of crime, not a courtroom. A bedroom lined with perfume and death. So what do we learn from this descent? In all three tales, the crimes take place not outside the society but within its heart, the home, the family, the heirloom, and the key weapon is not the dagger but deceit. These are crimes committed over cups of tea, behind closed doors, in ink on a forged testament. They are crimes of legibility. What is written, who inherits, and who gets to tell the story. The will, that banal legal document, becomes a Gothic text. It determines power, punishes deviation, and silences the dead. It is written in life, but it speaks most loudly in death. In many Gothic crime stories, the hidden or altered will become the true spectre, haunting everyone, reshaping the household long after the body is buried. And the femme fatale? She is not simply a seductress, she is an insurgent. She rewrites desire in spaces where it has been suppressed. Isabel in Braddon's novel is punished for dreaming. Clairmont in Gautier's tale survives death itself to love on her own terms. The femme fatale is a rebellion in silk, a reminder that the domestic sphere is not safe but volatile. Why is poison so prevalent in these stories? Because it is a quiet weapon. It mimics the drawing room itself, elegant, concealed, patient. You sip tea, you smile, and then you die. Poison is the perfect metaphor for socialized evil, a weapon fit for the parlor, administered with grace. These stories, when viewed through the lens of Gothic crime, expose the fractures beneath civility. They are less about who did it and more about what must be done to maintain the illusion of order. When you look into the drawing room of Gothic crime, ask not who is guilty, but who is allowed to be innocent. These are not detective stories, but confessionals. The walls whisper, the chandeliers tremble. The killer is not the stranger, but the one sitting beside you. So, my dear viewer, ask yourself, what crimes lie buried beneath your own family's velvet chairs? What silence have you inherited? Because the Gothic crime is not just in the act, it is in the home. Until next time, remember, keep the fire low, the doors locked, and never trust the will in the lawyer's coat pocket.